Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. I'm so glad that you've joined us this morning. We have a lot to cover. Yes, we are going to talk a little bit about the mayoral race in New York. Some really, really interesting information coming out about Elise Stefanik. No, she is not declared. But of course, the conversation as we near Election Day, will she declare that she's running for governor? We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Just a lot of updates to get to as well. Let's start with viewer comments. Mark writes in, good morning, Frank, and I say good morning, Mark. I see Netanyahu ordered a powerful strike in Gaza as Israel accuses Hamas of violating the peace treaty and staging hostage discovery. And the ATF has confiscated over 25,000 illegal guns from illegals and gangs since Trump has been in office. And Mike Johnson has shut down speculation that Donald Trump may be running for a third term. I didn't hear Johnson say that, but I know that has been quite the talk in the media. We brought up the article from CNN yesterday. He actually did weigh in on that, and I've got other viewer comments, so bear with me. But I try to get to some of the news stories that you bring up, not just you, Mark, but everyone that writes in. Trump said yesterday, and CNN had to admit it, though it's much later on the website, that President Donald Trump has said it's pretty clear the U.S. Constitution does not permit him to run for a third term in office. After days of speculation, prompted by claims from allies, there was a plan to let him do it. Steve Bannon and some others have been saying they were working behind the scenes to try to get a third term going. CNN speculated yesterday that they were doing that to stop the lame duck talk, which will come up after, maybe even before the midterms. They've been talking about lame duck really since day one, but when they really start pushing it heavy. He said, this is Donald Trump, I have my highest poll numbers that I've ever had. This was on Air Force One. We learned that reporters hate flying on Air Force One. Who was it that said that? I don't think it was Jen Psaki. I can't remember what reporter it was. Only because he keeps the reporters up 24/7 essentially. You never know when he's going to pop out, do an impromptu press conference. So he said, and based on what I've read, I guess I'm not allowed to run. So we'll see what happens. Oh, here we go to Mark's point. House Speaker Johnson on Tuesday told reporters he had spoken with Trump about the possibility of the president seeking a third term, but he sees no path for it, as any change to the U.S. Constitution would be well after Trump has left office. Johnson saying, it's been a great run, but I think the president knows, and he and I have talked about the constrictions of the Constitution, as much as so many of the American people lament that. Asked how that conversation played out, Trump said, I don't want to even talk about that because, the sad thing is I have my highest numbers that I've ever had. I would say that if you read it, the Constitution, it's pretty clear I'm not allowed to run. It's too bad, but we have a lot of great people. It's pretty clear. So CNN forced to admit it that because Trump likes playing along with it. You've seen the hats. He had the hats when Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer met with him that said Trump 2028. And it's typical Trump, but the media runs with it. Just like the East Wing that we talked about yesterday, Trump is a master at getting the media to talk about what he wants them to talk about. Comment from a different viewer coming in late yesterday. Senator Chris Murphy, a Democrat, of course, has the audacity to stand up with Republicans to rave against chatbot and to say that we need to protect our children when he is one who will not open the government and thereby is causing children to go hungry. This viewer says starve as a result. What a disturbing hypocrite. We're going to talk about that. A lot of people commenting on SNAP. SNAP benefits set to expire November 1st. We're going to talk about that in just a second. This viewer writes in, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. Not looking good for Trump's Nobel Peace Prize ceasefire in Gaza. This will get the old boy fired up. Netanyahu likes to blow stuff up. Donald, where are you? Your government is shut down. I'm not really sure what Donald Trump would do about that. This is, of course, why it's being called Schumer's shutdown, based on that 60-vote threshold in the Senate. Of course, as Trump is securing major deals throughout his whirlwind trip these last few days. We're going to talk a little bit about that this morning. The disturbing video, I don't know if you've seen it, that shows Hamas staging the recovery of hostage remains. It is disturbing. I wouldn't recommend watching it. But Hamas on Tuesday staged the discovery of remains belonging to an Israeli hostage, with videos showing the terrorist reburying a corpse and then flagging it to the Red Cross, further justifying Israel's renewed assault on Gaza, according to two top Israeli ministers. Hours after Hamas handed over the partial remains of the dead hostage, Israeli drones captured the moment members of the terrorist group tossed a body out of a building wrapped in white sheets. The men were then seen dragging the body to the center of a hole and attempting to bury it under dirt and sand. Once the body was mostly hidden, the Hamas members then signaled for an excavator to come and dig up their supposed quote-unquote new find. Netanyahu did order the immediate and powerful strikes in Gaza. This was yesterday. Benjamin Netanyahu ordered his military to carry out immediate and powerful strikes in Gaza after Hamas allegedly attacked IDF troops. Israeli troops stationed in the southern city of Rafah were attacked by Hamas gunmen operating in the area early Tuesday, with gunfire and artillery shelling bombarding the area, the Times of Israel reporting. The attack from Hamas was a clear violation of the peace deal. The incoming retaliatory strikes were approved by the Prime Minister following a meeting on Hamas's repeated violations, such as the terror group's failure to release the bodies of 13 remaining hostages in Gaza, including Israeli Americans Itay Chen, 19, and Omer Nirta, 21. As a result of the fallout, Hamas's military wing announced that it would be postponing the release of a hostage's body that was scheduled for tonight due to, quote, violations of the ceasefire agreement by the occupation. So we'll keep you updated on that. Comment from a different viewer. Yes, we are moving fast this morning. Buckle up. This viewer writes in, all executive order pardons by Biden were done with the auto pen. Not new news, but it's finally coming to light. Do you think anyone will be held accountable? The forgery and or conspiracy should not be ignored. If the situation was reversed, the left would be rounding everyone up for prison. I'm not sure. I don't want to sound jaded, so I'll just say I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other if anyone will be held accountable. Now, we learned yesterday that dozens of Joe Biden's executive actions cannot all be deemed his own after his closest advisors, quote, went to great lengths to prop him up. This is according to a bombshell report released yesterday. The House Oversight Committee staff document, based on more than a dozen interviews with Biden aides, lays out how the Democrats' inner circle took steps to meticulously manage his appearance, lightening his private workload and even block lawmakers from talking to him. Quote, these steps range from addressing President Biden's makeup, clothing, schedule, the number of steps President Biden could walk or climb, the amount of time President Biden needed to read and to spend with his family. It's a 91-page report, by the way, and it continues, keeping cabinet meetings to a minimum, eliciting direction from Hollywood on the State of the Union and other events, and using teleprompters even at small, intimate events. Yes, calling in far-left Hollywood to help him with his appearance at the State of the Union. In fact, when Biden gave his son Hunter a sweeping pardon for tax and gun felonies, as well as any potential crimes committed over an 11-year period, the president was given a note card full of approved talking points. Approved. Someone had to approve them before giving them to the president, as you would think it would be the other way around. The investigation run by James Comer also found that executive orders signed by AutoPen, including some presidential pardons, should be considered null and void since they were authorized with no approval traceable to the president's own consent. So he may not even been aware of what the AutoPen was signing. Biden himself told the New York Times in July that an AutoPen was used to sign 25 pardon and commutation warrants in December 2024 and January 2025, some of which granted clemency to thousands of offenders. Hunter Biden's pardon was one of the few the president signed by hand during that period. Asked directly whether he even knew who operated the AutoPen, former White House Chief of Staff Jeff Zients answered bluntly in a transcribed interview he did not. Quote, I do not. There were good processes in place, Zients said. There were verbal authorizations of the president's decision that would occur on occasion. Hunter Biden weighed in on some of those family discussions of pardons towards the very end of the administration, Zients admitted. The authority to grant pardons is not provided to the president's inner circle, nor can it be delegated to particular staff when a president's competency is in question, the report notes. Importantly, even if this authority could be delegated, which it cannot, it would have to be expressly delegated by President Biden himself. So this is a really fascinating piece. You can find it in numerous places. You can actually find the full 91-page report. I happened to just get it off the New York Post yesterday. Now, the oversight panel did issue a separate letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi demanding a full investigation of Biden's executive actions and clemencies, as well as top aides deeply involved in the cover-up who may have committed crimes. Biden allies accused of having facilitated the cover-up include Deputy Chief of Staff Annie Tomasini, White House physician Dr. Kevin O'Connor, and former First Lady Jill Biden's Chief of Staff Anthony Bernal. All three took the Fifth Amendment when hauled before the oversight panel. So you can find that for yourself, but thank you for mentioning that to our viewer who sent that in. I know I'm running late already, but let's go to one last viewer comment, which will lead into our discussion in the next segment about the government shutdown. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. Okay, California is suing the administration over the withholding of SNAP benefits. I would add that New York is as well. So my question is, during a government shutdown, is the SNAP program affected? California says no, and that it is illegal to withhold this benefit. Is it or is it not illegal during a shutdown? Is this program subject to a government mandate or regulation during a shutdown? Newscomb, as Trump calls him, says it is not and that California will win its lawsuit. What laws apply under the circumstances? And as a side note to the SNAP discussion, California has brought 45 lawsuits against the administration. My question is, how many have they won? That's a great question. The problem is, I don't know how many, we figure we're just over 10 months and 9 days into the president's first year of a second term. So when it comes to these lawsuits, there's a lot of back and forth. We've seen that numerous times, appeals. And so I don't know the final number. But maybe when it comes to Governor Newsom, came in second in that poll, by the way, of presidential candidates for the Democrat Party. It may just be about the overall number, because if he had 145, he would say he had 145. But when it comes to the issue, and it's a financial situation of the funds drying up. Now, they say this has not been affected in the past. Donald Trump has signaled that they're going to do everything they can to make sure SNAP benefits are continued. I see there is... This is not something to take lightly, and I didn't even print it off this morning because the language in it, I was afraid that I would slip while reading it. But some people on social media, TikTok, Instagram, who are recipients of SNAP benefits, suggesting that if that dries up on November 1st, that they will riot, they will loot. Now, it's anecdotal. They had I can't remember where the piece was at. There was handful of people saying this, but there are real concerns, and I've seen it from not just conservative-leaning outlets, from many outlets, concerns about rioting, looting, destruction of property if SNAP benefits run out. We're going to talk about that in relationship to the government shutdown when we return. I do have a lot of other breaking stories that we'll need to get to. Don't forget, our good friend, Steuben County Sheriff Jim Allard, will be our guest coming up in the next hour. So don't miss out on that. If you have any questions for the sheriff, it's not too late to get those questions into the number on the bottom of your screen. Then tomorrow on the program, Joe Sempolinski will be our guest. So Joe Sempolinski, former congressman, current New York State Assemblyman, will be joining us. So questions for Joe as well at any time. And we have some other guests that I'm just getting ready to confirm. So we'll probably have 2 guests tomorrow and 2 guests on Friday as well. It is a busy time of year, and we're glad to do it. There's a lot of events and, of course, the elections as well coming up. Did you early vote? And if so, how did it go? All right, one last thing. If you missed it yesterday, and if you are a resident of the city of Elmira, the Elmira City Court judge election is coming up, or is technically going, because it's early voting is happening. We've had all three candidates on the program. If you missed those interviews, you can find them on our YouTube page, or you can go to wydctv.com, and you can find our chat with Daniel Kane from yesterday, or Robert Singland from a couple weeks ago, and Jordan York from last week. So just be as informed as possible. Or if you are in the city of Elmira, you can find that. Click of the mouse at wydctv.com. All right, stay with us. We'll be right back. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Market Street in Corning. Let's talk government shutdown. Well, actually, do you mind if we put off the government shutdown here for just a second? Because I do have a couple of quick things that I don't want us to miss out on that broke earlier in the day, and then we will talk, just because of that viewer's question, we'll jump right into it. But there are a couple of breaking stories. Okay, one, just because we give you all the information you need to know here on Frankly Speaking. Do you want to hear a really interesting fact that isn't necessarily breaking news? But yesterday we kicked off the program when a viewer texted us at 2:53 a.m. to tell us they had just finished watching the World Series game, but they wanted to send in a virtual wave. And I thought, wow, 18 innings. So we brought that news to you at the beginning of the program. Here's a little fun fact for you. The country star Brad Paisley, he's a pretty regular on Fox, Trump supporter, nice guy. I met him once, or twice actually. Very nice guy. Get this. There have been 2 World Series games to last 18 innings, so double the length of a normal game. 2. And Brad Paisley performed the national anthem at both of them. Monday's game and a game back in 2018. How's that for a weird fact? So if you buy tickets to the World Series and Brad Paisley is scheduled to read the national anthem, buckle up and prepare for a long night. I just found that interesting. All right, we were talking about Biden and the auto pen investigation, 91-page investigation. Well, now we are learning more than 160 Republicans, including current Trump administration officials, may have been investigated by the FBI under former President Joe Biden as part of the Bureau's sweeping Arctic frost probe, according to new documents. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Dan Scavino, U.S. Pardon Attorney Ed Martin, and White House Trade Advisor Pete Navarro are amongst the prominent GOP figures named in FBI files released by the House Judiciary Committee yesterday, detailing the massive scope of the Biden-era Justice Department's investigations into allegations of 2020 election interference. Jim Jordan told Sean Hannity last night, what we've learned is it was much broader, much more expansive than we had originally thought. That is why we want former special counsel Jack Smith in front of our committee in a deposition format. Was this a political operation when you guys were running against President Trump? How many other members of Congress did you spy on? Those are the kinds of questions we want to ask Jack Smith to see what kind of answers we get from the guy who ran this whole operation. So that is just a quick update and tying in from our last segment. Also yesterday, the great news, Toyota has pledged $10 billion toward a new auto plant in the United States. Trump said in the announcement, he urged people to go out and buy a Toyota in a wide-ranging speech to sailors aboard the USS George Washington yesterday. Trump, who is making trade and economic deals a top goal of his 3-nation regional tour, said the Japanese Prime Minister, Takehashi, told him earlier in the day that the world's largest car company would pour funds into American manufacturing plants. I was just told by the Prime Minister that Toyota is going to be putting auto plants all over the United States to the tune of $10 billion. So that's Toyota, so go out and buy a Toyota, he said. The president on Monday applauded Takehashi for floating a purchase of Ford F-150 pickup trucks for official use and was joined by the Prime Minister aboard the ship, calling her to the lectern to deliver remarks and wrapping his arms around her. Also yesterday, 14 narco-terrorists were killed in the latest U.S. strikes on 4 drug smuggling vessels in the Eastern Pacific. In a social media post, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth indicated that the kinetic strikes on the 4 vessels involved 3 separate strikes carried out at the direction of President Trump. Quote, 8 male narco-terrorists were aboard the vessels during the first strike. 4 male narco-terrorists were aboard the vessel during the second strike. 3 male narco-terrorists were aboard the vessel during the third strike. A total of 14 narco-terrorists were killed during the 3 strikes, with 1 survivor. All strikes were in international waters with no U.S. forces harmed. Now, Jamie Raskins, Democrat from California, said that the Trump administration's military strikes on alleged drug boats was a lawless operation. This is another really interesting one where Trump has gotten Democrats in the media to essentially support and defend what Pete Hegseth calls narco-terrorists, drug dealers. Well, there's no legal rationale for it, Raskin said. Congress has not declared war on drug boats in the Eastern Pacific, nor is this a legitimate police action. The president is not himself the police, the prosecutor, the judge, the jury, and the executioner. And it's a terrifying logic there, advancing to the world. Because if they can do it in the Eastern Pacific, why can't they do it off the coast of California? Why can't they do it in the waterways of America? So it's a lawless operation. Only Congress can declare war, and we have law enforcement bounded by all the rules of due process, the presumption of innocence, prosecution, and so on, that the president himself has afforded himself of when he's been prosecuted for crimes he's committed. All right. When we come back, one more breaking story, and then we're going to get to the government shutdown. Got a lot of waves coming in. Keep those comments coming in. I want to hear from you this morning. As I mentioned, Sheriff Allard will be joining us a little bit later on. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. All right, well, a couple comments coming in. Mark says Trump can use force to protect the U.S. and drugs are a threat to the U.S. is what he is claiming. Yeah, that is Trump's, I think, justifiable argument. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. I can already hear Brad Paisley's new release about how his first wife made him feel like he was in extra innings. That's a great line. You should send that to him. Yes, if you're wondering what that's in reference to, we learned this morning that Brad Paisley played the national anthem. He sang the national anthem in 2 World Series games that lasted 18 innings. Monday nights, and then what did I say back in 2018? Interesting. But yes, that would make a great song. All right. Hey, I hope Climate Fact Friday Bob's listening, because I can't wait to get his take on this on Friday. Mr. Doom and Gloom. Climate change was the end of mankind as we know it. Bill Gates made a major reversal yesterday. He spent more than a decade warning that the world was on the brink of unimaginable peril due to rising global temperatures. Now he says climate change, quote, will not lead to humanity's demise in what you'd have to call a stunning reversal. So, good news, everybody. Climate change will not lead to humanity's demise, according to Bill Gates. Now, also keep in mind, Bill Gates has sunk billions of dollars, but he has a vast fortune, into initiatives meant to combat global warming, penned a lengthy blog post this week urging a shift away from the doomsday outlook that many climate activists have adopted to terrify non-believers into seeing things their way. Now, it is interesting, this comes off the heels, or not even off the heels, hours before Melissa hit Jamaica, a storm that they're calling a storm of the century. Interesting, because he's pushed an agenda on this doomsday scenario. So now to reverse it is very telling. Although climate change will have serious consequences, particularly for people in the poorest countries, it will not lead to humanity's demise. People will be able to live and thrive in most places on Earth for the foreseeable future. Gates, who just 4 years ago authored a book titled How to Avoid a Climate Disaster and once said climate change could be worse than the COVID-19 pandemic, now argues we should measure success by our impact on human welfare more than our impact on the global temperatures. Now, that's a stark departure from his previous assertions. Again, showing, I think, in many instances, one of the problems with global warming from the beginning, the name changes, the constant changing, the goalposts, moving the goalposts, I should say, the doom and gloom at all costs. And then at the same time, he's flying around the globe to talk about global warming in a $70 million private jet that spews around 450 gallons of fuel per hour. So I thought that was kind of a quick little update on global warming. No need to worry anymore, folks. We're going to be all right. Thanks, Bill Gates. Okay. The government shutdown. As I had noted to the one viewer's point, New York has joined the lawsuit to force the Trump administration to fund food assistance amid the shutdown. Letitia James, should come as no surprise, and a coalition of 25 other leaders and governors argue that the USDA's refusal to issue November SNAP payments to more than 40 million Americans is illegal and will leave countless families without the resources to buy food. The lawsuit, filed yesterday in federal court in Massachusetts, contends that the USDA's suspension of benefits violates the Food and Nutrition Act and the Administrative Procedure Act. The complaint argues that the agency has access to more than $6 billion in contingency funds that Congress specifically set aside to maintain food assistance during funding lapse, but has unlawfully refused to use them. The lawsuit seeks an emergency court order requiring the USDA to use available funds to issue November benefits. It also names USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins, the Office of Management and Budget, and its director, Russell Voigt, as defendants. The suspension, set to take effect November the 1st, would mark the first time in SNAP's 60-year history that monthly benefits are halted during a federal shutdown. Now, joining New York in the lawsuit, California, Illinois, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Oregon, Washington, and 18 other states, as well as the governors of Kansas, Kentucky, and Pennsylvania. Governor Kathy Hochul, who we've talked a lot about lately, who saw some numbers in recent polling that doesn't look great for her, she injected an additional $30 million. We brought that story to you yesterday, in emergency food assistance funding for pantries statewide. New York is not sitting idly by when lives are on the line. We're proud to assist the Office of the Attorney General in joining 24 other states in suing the Trump administration, demanding the release of emergency funds so families can continue to put food on the table through the government shutdown. But now keep in mind, yesterday the Democrats voted for the 13th time to keep the government closed, which also halted SNAP benefits. This is the 13th time the Democrats voted to keep the federal government shut down. As Senate Majority Leader John Thune said, there was an easy fix to ensure millions of Americans don't lose access to SNAP. Quote, the simplest way to end it and the simplest way to make sure that people are getting the food assistance they need is to pick up the bill and give us 5 votes. 5 votes. And we'll send it to the president. It will be signed to law. Everything opens up and everybody gets paid and SNAP recipients get their benefits. Nearly 42 million Americans receive SNAP benefits. We don't need to go through all the numbers. Thune anticipated that the threat to food stamps, coupled with an encroaching date for enrolling in health care insurance plans, should bring the shutdown to an end by the weekend, though he didn't expect Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer to join a handful of moderate Democrats in making that happen. Thune seems perplexed about what precisely it is that Democrats are pushing for, Schumer said, but he knows, we'll say darn well, what Democrats want. It's the very same thing that a vast majority of Americans want, including nearly 60% of MAGA voters. We want to lower health care costs now. At the same time, pressure on Democrats is back down is mounting. We know the largest union of federal employees called for the party to put aside the partisanship and to vote to reopen the government. We learned that yesterday, but CNN, remember, sending that message, don't do it. Don't do it. Nick Daniels, who leads the Air Traffic Controllers Union, stopped short of fully endorsing the so-called clean continuing resolution to pay federal workers, but demanded that the shutdown end today. I don't know why any of this has to happen. Nobody wins in a shutdown. We've been saying that for a long time, Thune said. Right now, their metric of how this is going is, it is serving their political interest or not. I think there are half a dozen Democrats out there whom these labor unions are, their opinion and influence could be fairly consequential in terms of what they ultimately decide to do. I can't believe it wouldn't be. I hope that the consequences of this become more real over time. There's a couple of key deadlines coming up here, and I'm hoping that we will get them to come to their senses. 10 GOP senators co-sponsor Josh Hawley's SNAP funding bill to fund the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program as the government is shut down. I don't need to go through each senator, but Peter Welch remains the sole Democrat in the upper chamber to co-sponsor the bill. The Keep SNAP Funded Act of 2025 would fund the food aid program for states across the country until the nearly month-long government shutdown ends, and the Department of Agriculture can receive its allotments through appropriations or stopgap measures. Hawley wrote in an op-ed yesterday, there is no reason any of these residents of my state or any other American who qualifies for food assistance should go hungry. We can afford to provide the help. All right. Donald Trump saying yesterday that SNAP benefits will be solved for November. This coming from Newsweek on Air Force One during his trip to Asia. Trump told reporters, we're going to get it done, but offered no details on how it might happen. We've got a little bit more on the shutdown. I'm realizing we're running out of time because we've got the sheriff on. Some of these topics we may have to talk to with the sheriff. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Market Street in Corning, just putting together all of our comments. So I ran a little late there. Here we go. Let's get right to them. This viewer writes in, I agree with Trump's actions. I think he needs to stop illegal drugs at its source before a chance to get into the United States. Thank you very much. Mark writes in, boy, if Trump took the tariff money to keep SNAP open, he would be a hero and the Dems would be upset. That is right. Comment from a different viewer. It's interesting that Bill Gates seems to get a pass on his ties with Epstein and his climate change stance, almost like it never happened. He obviously has no ties to Trump. Yeah, that is interesting. They were close. I mean, he's had to address it, but it's never really become a major issue. But I think it was because he was such a big climate change doomsday kind of person. All right, Democrats are attempting to cast the blame on Trump and Republicans for Schumer's shutdown. Just prepare for that. They're saying that Trump is letting kids go hungry is a common talking point now. While Democrats are casting the blame on Trump and Republicans for the government shutdown, which has stretched now 28 days officially. Senate Democrats voted for the 13th time against a clean continuing resolution that would have reopened the government, according to The Hill, as I mentioned. Per the outlet, the continuing resolution, which needs 60 votes to advance, received 54 votes, including votes from John Fetterman, Catherine Cortez Masto, and Senator Angus King. But they're trying to, I'm not going to read all the comments or just to get you upset. But Newsom invoked scripture in his attack on the GOP. Speaking in Sacramento, Newsom cited teachings from Matthew, Isaiah, Luke, and Proverbs, as evidence that feeding the poor is core and central to what is to align to God's will. Quote, it's not a suggestion in the Old and the New Testament. These guys need to stop the baloney in Washington. They're sitting there in their prayer breakfasts. Maybe they got an edited version of President Donald Trump's Bible, and they edited all of that out. Cruelty is the policy. Boy, he's getting to that area quickly where he is trying way too hard, where he is getting too petty, and it's not working. Maybe they got an edited version of President Donald Trump's Bible, and they edited out all of that. Okay. Anyway, that was his line of attack. Now, J.D. Vance confirmed yesterday that U.S. military personnel will be paid this Friday during the ongoing government shutdown, while warning that they are not going to be able to pay everybody. When asked He said, unfortunately, he said, yes, we believe that we can continue to pay the troops on Friday. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to pay everybody because we've been handed a very bad hand by the Democrats. Chief Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell also confirmed that the Department of War had accepted an anonymous donation of $130 million, but that's that whole thing. They're trying to, again, I guess, stop that money from being used to help pay our troops. Just a mess. But again, Schumer has said it, that the best possible, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's not that far off, that you need to get people to suffer in this, and that makes it a victory for Democrats because things like SNAP go away, and they want that in a political sense because they think it hurts more people, and they think that that ultimately pushes some Republicans to work with them. EPA Chief Lee Zeldin, former gubernatorial candidate in New York, said he has to furlough approximately 4,000 employees and is unable to advance certain important projects due to the government shutdown. He said, we have a lot of carryover funding, so when we woke up on October 1st, we were not in a total lapse. A total lapse for the agency is about an 89% furlough. Last Monday, a week ago yesterday, was the first time that there was a big furlough that impacted the agency. It was approximately 4,000 employees. The EPA had 16,155 employees in January, with plans to downsize to under 12,500 by the end of the year. Zeldin noted that they still have a little bit more than that goal, meaning that a total lapse would be well over 11,000 furloughed employees. Okay. Mike Johnson, and here, I don't understand this. Marjorie Taylor Greene again, just quickly. I guess Mike Johnson and Marjorie Taylor Greene clashed in this heated private GOP call. Many people are reporting on this, even Marjorie Taylor Greene referring to it in a tweet. Greene told the House GOP leaders, you guys need to get out of Washington, D.C. and go back to your districts and talk to real people, because real people are, we'll say, mad. They expected us to do our legislative constitutional duty and not take marching orders from the political team at the White House. Then she turned her anger at President Trump, pointing out she was one of the earliest fervent supporters, but added, even the president is losing support. Now, Speaker Johnson said they're working tirelessly to end the shutdown. He's not sleeping, I'm not sleeping, meaning Trump, and I'm not sleeping because we are working around the clock. He then criticized Greene and asked her, and I think this is a fair question, how does that help us, Marjorie? Making sure that she's getting the attention on herself by referring to what she said, by doing these. CNN loves it. She's a star at CNN. She's falling into that trap. Marjorie Taylor Greene vents frustration over shutdown strategy as Speaker Johnson on private call with House Republicans. She's become the star that perhaps she's always wanted to be, and I think Johnson has a great point. How does that help us, Marjorie, being so vocal about it, being critical of the president, being critical of Johnson in public spaces? Anyway, I don't want to read her tweet. You get the idea. All right, we got a lot more to talk about. We got to take a break because I heard the corning whistle. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. We got to talk about some New York State issues because we have the sheriff coming in on the broadcast this morning, which we look forward to, of course, and that's in the 7 o'clock hour, but I want to get to some New York City mayoral updates. But first, a comment from a viewer. Schools are open, kids are eating. Great point. We talked about the free school lunches pushed by Governor Hochul. The viewer continues, Gates hasn't had any credibility for years. Very simple. I see your one comment, viewer. I don't think. Thank you for the point. I get it. Okay, record-breaking early voting looks good for Mama Donnie. That's according to one outlet. Then another outlet that I saw said the complete opposite. So it's interesting how that works. I think early voting is important. I think everybody, if you can, early vote, just because the theory is, let's face it, it's an off-year election. You may not see as many alerts to remind you on election day to go out and vote as you would for a presidential or gubernatorial or whatever. So the idea is if you have a couple minutes and you go now, not this second, but if you go, when you're on your lunch break or you got a little time to kill on the way home before some meeting or something, you just go and vote. And then you don't have to worry about remembering next Tuesday. Now, of course, we're going to be reminding you a lot to get out and vote. But I think it's helpful. Or, heaven forbid, you get sick or something comes up. Life goes on and you just don't have the opportunity on Tuesday. It's nice to vote ahead of time. Okay, having said that, I think sometimes because it is relatively new, it's overanalyzed. So I would not take that because the media can use it and exploit it. They can take it as, it's already over for Mamadani. I was going to vote for Sleewall or I was going to vote for Cuomo, but now I just won't get out and vote. The same thing happens in the presidential election all the way down. It can be used to discourage you or try to pump up his base. I'm not sure, to the viewer that asked about Letitia James being able to practice law while she's under investigation, because it's still under investigation. It's still, I think she would have to be found guilty before they take it to the next step because, again, the presumption of innocence. That would be my theory, though I'm not clearly a lawyer. Zohran Mamdani faces criminal referrals to the Department of Justice over alleged illegal campaign donations from foreign donors. I had mentioned this a few weeks ago. This is the update. The Coolidge-Reagan Foundation filed the referrals alleging Mamdani may have violated the Federal Election Campaign Act and New York Election Code with the Department of Justice's Criminal Division and Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office on Tuesday. The referrals were filed after the New York Post reported earlier this month Mamdani's campaign raked in nearly $13,000 in contributions from at least 170 donors with addresses outside the U.S., including one from his mother-in-law in Dubai. These are not isolated incidents or clerical errors, Dan Baker said in his statement. This was a sustained pattern of foreign money flowing into a New York City mayoral race, which is a clear violation of both federal law and New York City campaign finance rules. Mamdani's campaign was on notice for months that it was accepting illegal foreign contributions, and yet it did nothing meaningful to stop it. All right. Now, some opinion pieces on this, and this one shocked me, and I would like to hear your take. If you go to the New York Post, or even on this program, I've referenced Michael Goodwin a lot. He writes a lot of opinion pieces. Sometimes I agree, sometimes I don't. But I do find him interested. I didn't think he would ever, and I don't think he ever thought he would cast his vote for Cuomo. But he says, if anyone had dared me last winter that I would eventually vote to make Andrew Cuomo New York's next mayor, I would have shot back, never. I was still thoroughly disgusted with the former governor, had applauded his forced 2021 exit from Albany, and saw no evidence he was doing anything to make himself fit to hold public office again. In the 3+ years since his resignation, he has continued to play defense and attack his critics, including me, this again, Michael Goodwin, but has done nothing to demonstrate he has learned anything or accepted any responsibility for his historic collapse. In his public remarks and private conversations, there were no apologies for the heartless nursing home debacle. I think it's worse than that. I think you downplay it. It's not a debacle. It's a tragedy. It was a senseless tragedy that he caused during this COVID pandemic. But I'll continue. Nor was there remorse over the finding that he was guilty of sexually harassing 13 women. He never said so directly, but he seemed to believe that if he got back into politics, enough voters enamored of the Cuomo name would give him a second chance, even if he didn't show them why he deserved it. And I think that was his campaign strategy for the primary. He would not be in this mess now if he would have campaigned. He thought he had it, so he did the Biden campaign, which was kind of run from his basement, take voters for granted, and look what it got him. But basically, the idea is, like you can predict, what Michael Goodwin's saying, not to criticize him, but you can predict that Mamdani is worse. He said, in my 50 years of writing about politics, I've rarely seen a candidate so unworthy of the office he seeks, meaning Zohran Mamdani. Initially, I dismissed him as too young and too unserious for the heavy lifting the City Hall job requires. Most Democrats did too, as he was stuck in single digits in the primary polls for months, while Cuomo looked to be coasting to victory. But as the campaign wore on, it became clear that Mamdani is a smooth-talking Pied Piper for many young voters. But the worldview he is selling would destroy virtually everything good about New York. He was raised by his parents to hate America, our history, and our institutions. And many of his associates are cut from the same radical cloth. His election would be far more than just a mistake. It would be a tragedy. Ricky Schlott from the Post says a Mamadani win would be a victory for New York City's victimhood culture and the Gen Z faux working class. I don't think I'm going to have time to talk about that, but we've got more to discuss. Your comments coming in. We got to take a short break and then wrap up hour number 1 of Frankly Speaking. Stay with us. Look at our beautiful view of historic Market Street right here in the heart of the Gaffer District. Thank you to Boss Security for bringing us that view. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, wrapping up hour number 1. A comment from a viewer and none other than Climate Fact Friday Bob. Climate Fact Friday Bob writes, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning to you as well. Thanks for making me aware of Billy Gates' enlightenment on climate change. He, like many public figures, go in different directions whenever their relevance is challenged. Thank you, Climate Fact Friday Bob. Have a great day. Thank you. We appreciate that. I knew you would want to know about Bill Gates getting away from the doom and gloom and now saying it's not the end of mankind as we know it. Quite a turnaround, quite a 180. So as I mentioned, Ricky Schlott said, less fortunate New Yorkers voted in the primary for politicians like Cuomo, who treated them with dignity instead of unrealistic promises of freebies. New Yorkers full of envy and entitlement, meanwhile, voted gleefully for more, and Mamadani. Interesting point there. Okay. Learned yesterday, maybe you heard it. I know I'm excited about this. And this is not the big breaking Elise Stefanik story, but it is one of 2 that I have. Elise Stefanik has revealed she's publishing a book exposing the far-left indoctrination, division, and moral rot at Ivy League universities, as she draws a direct line from elite campus culture to the rise of Zohran Mamdani. And that is a very good point. That socialist mindset coming from an anti-Semitic mindset coming from these elite universities. You know, in those hearings, sometimes I just watch it when they pop up. She did such a remarkable, amazing job going after those deans and presidents of these universities. It was like watching, well, I would say it was like watching a title fight, but it was so one-sided. She did such a good job, and the presidents and the deans were not prepared for that kind of questioning. She hit it out of the park every time. So the book is going to be called Poisoned Ivies, and will raise the curtain on the decline of American higher education. But she noted it would also be newsier than ever, given the administration's decision to correctly withhold billions of dollars of funding from the schools and the upcoming New York City mayoral election. You know, this is interesting. I wonder if this is, I know, much to our chagrin, she has not declared that she's going to run for governor. I wonder if this has been the delay as she has been writing a book. That could very well be the case, to expose, as she said, the far-left indoctrination, division, and moral rot at Ivy League universities. Stefanik said, if you look at the rise of an anti-Semite socialist, Zohran Mamdani, you cannot have that without a direct line from these poisoned Ivy League schools, leading directly to this moral rot that is currently manifesting and what's playing out in the mayor's race in New York City, and I would say at a higher level. We talked about even Van Jones saying back during the 2024 election that the Democrat Party is marbled in this anti-Semitism. And the Democrat Party very much in tune with the thought processes of the elite universities. Because remember, as always, it's the grown-ups in the room. Oh my gosh, did I just forget that I have a time frame here? I got to take a break. We'll talk more about that when we come back. Stay with us. Wrapping up hour number 1. Hour number 2 coming up after this. And welcome to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Coming up in this hour, we are going to be talking with Sheriff Jim Allard. We always look forward to that. We got some viewer comments to kick off hour number 2. As I had mentioned, Elise Stefanik came out with a new book. We'll talk a little bit more about that. All right, let's go to viewer comments. All the leftist losers are crying because Trump is creating solutions to the Schumer shutdown. I hope Trump totally obliterates social programs during the shutdown. No more support for foreign and domestic terrorists. It's obvious that a large portion of America's enemies are taking advantage of our system. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. I didn't know Bill Gates was a climate expert. Me either. But he liked to dump a lot of money into it. And he even wrote a book saying that it was going to be the end of mankind, essentially, and now backtracking on that. So, yeah, I'm not sure where that came from. Comment from a different viewer. It's a spooky-looking Market Street this morning, Frank. It is, isn't it? I'm expecting to see zombies or an AOC rally each time you return. Yes, a Michael Jackson music video, a Mama Donnie, AOC, Bernie Sanders, Hochul rally. Any of those would work. Zombies, I'm with you. It is a little spooky, eerie out there. Thank you for that comment. Ken writes in, I'm not a big fan of early voting. Absentee voting, yes. Early voting, no. If a voter is paying attention to the local, state, and federal races, they will also know when and where to vote. If they are not paying attention to the races, they are not informed about the candidates, and if they decide to vote, they just vote party line. That's a fair point, Ken. More opportunities for them to mindlessly vote is not beneficial to selecting the best candidate. It just helps the party line. It has been called Election Day since voting started in this country. Extended is either before or after Election Day, also opens it to fraud and abuse. I can understand your concerns on all of that. I know it was a couple of years ago that it started the pushing of the extended. I will say absentee ballots, yes, that was when you had to prove a hardship. You had to prove I can't make it because of X, Y, or Z. There was very specific reasoning. Now they have, what is it called? Early absentee? You don't even have to give a reason. You don't even have to say why you want it. You don't even have to be in the state if you have your mailing address or if you have a residence here, like if you're registered to vote here. So let's say you're registered to vote in New York and then you move somewhere. If you're still registered to vote in New York, you just call them up and say, hey, I want this sent to me in, I don't know, Texas, wherever you're at. So yeah, that has become, there's no questions asked. We talked about this last time with Joe Sempolinski, not last time, but a while ago with Joe Sempolinski. It's become, again, no questions asked. I have a real problem with that. I have no problem with the actual absentee, which I'm sure many have used for various reasons through the years. I'm not as opposed to early voting, but I understand your concerns. I think the first time it was used, Democrats saw a great thing to use for their advantage. I think now that if you look at the presidential race, Republicans realized that they had to take advantage of it just like the Democrats did, not in a cheating way, just in a we've got to put those numbers up there too. So, yeah, I understand. I know a lot of people have concerns with it, so I totally understand. So and thank you for all those comments. So, again, Elise Stefanik writing a book about the Ivy Leagues could be one of the reasons why she kind of delayed or is continuing to delay her announcement, because that's interesting too, because I don't know when the book comes out specifically. I don't think I mentioned it. Normally you take a book tour, unless her book tour just focuses on New York, could cut into a little bit of the promotional time if she decides to run. Stefanik, who grilled Ivy League campus presidents in 2023 on the explosion of anti-Semitic harassment and intimidation on their campuses, and eventually sparking the resignation of their president, said the problems persist. Anti-Semitism on college campuses is the canary in the coal mine of academic and moral rot that's been happening for decades, Stefanik, a Harvard University alum, said. Whether it's the tenured faculty, whether it's the bloated tuition, whether it's the curricula, whether it's the foreign funding, the percentage of foreign students, the book really goes through all aspects of what I believe has been moving higher education in the wrong direction that really culminated in the explosion of anti-Semitism on college campuses. This is an important chapter in the history of American education to tell in one book of just a really sick situation that was occurring on these campuses, whether it was the assault of Jewish students, whether it was the chance of death to Israel, death to America, and the faculty and administration's inability to show any moral compass and any strong leadership. So there you are, the book Poison Ivies. Let's see, I'm trying to find where it says it will be, because it goes through some of her past interviews on this, and she does say how she thinks it can be corrected in the book as well, which is important to note, not just one of these books that complain, saying how it can be changed. Though she hasn't decided yet whether to enter the 2026 New York gubernatorial race, Stefanik noted the issue of protecting students' rights on campuses and providing oversight of top universities will be one of my many topics that she tackles in the next year while serving in Congress. Okay, it's due out in April of next year. Ew, I don't like that necessarily. So it's due out in April. Is she currently writing it now? Is it over, almost over? Because that could affect her run. Interesting. But a new poll, now this is coming from a conservative, more conservative polling outlet, but this is the big news I wanted to pass along to you. New York could have a Republican governor next year, according to this shocking new poll. Now, people call it an outlier poll, but keep this in mind. The Manhattan Institute poll released Tuesday shows Elise Stefanik narrowly beating Kathy Hochul in a hypothetical 2026 matchup. Now, keep in mind, this is before she has even declared that she is going to run for governor. The unpopular incumbent governor trails her firebrand nemesis, GOP nemesis, by 1%, according to the statewide survey conducted by the right-leaning think tank. 1% without even having campaigned. And the latest in a series of polls showing Hochul's controversial move to back socialist mayor frontrunner Zohran Mamdani hasn't seemed to result in a boost in support. I don't think people were expecting it to be a boost. I think it was because Hochul was scared of a left-leaning primary challenger. And I think she could still very much experience that because, as we know, Mamdani has refused to endorse Hochul. Now, if you listen to Hochul, and I talked about this on yesterday's program, Hochul made it sound like, oh, they're ready to endorse at any time. I just got to give them my time frame when it's best for me. But no, they're dying. They're chomping at the bit to endorse me. So has any reporter, I haven't seen it, has any reporter said, hey, are you really that excited about endorsing Hochul? Just out of curiosity? Is that really you're just putting it off for her? Now, the Manhattan Institute survey found Stefanik getting 43% support compared with 42% for Hochul, a statistical tie with the poll's 3% margin of error. 9% of those surveyed said they would vote for someone else, and 7% responded that they were not sure. The poll showed Stefanik, who has said she will officially declare her bid after the November 4th election, leading Hochul with those aged 50 and up, and among critical independent voters. Stefanik leads Hochul 46 to 33% among independents and 54% to 37% on Long Island. So great news. And speaking of great news, the sheriff just pulled up. So let's take a short break and get settled in here. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on said Market Street Corning. And joining us in that studio, Sheriff Jim Allard. Good morning.
Good morning. It's a beautiful day in Steuben County.
It always is. The roof cam.
It's a foggy day in Steuben County.
I was just going to say it's an eerie kind of a Halloween-esque type day.
It's perfect for Halloween.
Yeah, boy, they get huge crowds. Have you been here on Market Street when they do that?
Not for many years.
Stay away unless you have to be on Market Street.
Yeah.
We've got a lot to cover this morning. Is it pointless to ask about the garden? Is it all done?
It is done.
Oh.
It's tilled up and done, but it was
a good year.
1,600 pounds of produce, wow. I believe. Last year was 1,000. This year was 1,600. And
just keeps growing.
It does. I mean, again, I can't praise our food service folks enough. The company that we contracted with to provide food services in the jail has embraced the garden.
I'm sure.
And is all in.
Yeah.
And she's been teaching inmates how to make pickles and salsa and all these other things. Again, life-changing, sustainable skills that they can leave with.
When it's all over with, because something like that gets in your system, too.
It does.
You don't want to
get away
with it.
Once you start canning, you can't get away from it.
And then you can't buy the pickles at the store anymore.
No, they won't taste as good.
No, but that's great. It's been a huge success. So we'd like to kick off with a positive story. We've got a lot of things to cover. Since the last time we talked, the wine glass, another huge success. Because we talked to you right before, I think the week before, as you're preparing. But I haven't heard no complaints. It went smooth.
Well, and it went very smooth, and we had more runners at the full than we've even going back pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
So we set records for the number of runners at the full. Everybody did their thing. The spectators were much better this year.
Okay.
I think just
Well behaved or
Yeah.
bigger? Oh, really? Are they
Yeah.
normally not well behaved? I haven't been in a
well,
long time.
no, it's not that they're well behaved, but they get so excited for their runner.
Oh, that they get into
spill
the-
out into the runner's lane,
now I
and then
understand.
which pushes the runners into the traffic lanes, which becomes an issue. And we had zero issues with that this year. It was
When it was a beautiful day for it. I mean, it's a little warm for the runners, I think.
Yeah.
But it
if
was
you
still.
didn't finish before noon, it got hot.
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
can't complain with weather like that. We had a great fall.
I know. It was gorgeous.
for those type of events, but I think it's just only going to grow.
It is.
It's not going anywhere. It's got such a good reputation now.
And it keeps getting the positive publicity in runners magazines and blogs. So, and you can't overestimate what it does for our local economy for tourism.
I know.
Because there were people that were here a week early.
And you're telling me.
Yeah,
I
well,
try
you
to find
saw 'em.
parking.
Yeah, you saw 'em.
No, it's been. It gets bigger every year. It reminds me of NASCAR in a completely different fashion,
Yeah.
obviously. But you start to see people, I see the same people every day.
Right.
And you start to see different people you don't recognize, people wondering what this is or wondering what down the street. And that it is earlier and earlier because why not make a little vacation out of it, I guess.
Yeah, and I went by a couple of our wineries that Friday before the race, and I've never seen them so full.
yeah.
I mean, packed to the gills.
I know it. It's great. And I know it disrupts traffic for one day. I'd say it's worth it.
It's absolutely worth it
Yeah.
for what it brings for just sales tax alone to the.
And you guys got it down to a science now, shutting down all that, don't you?
We've got it down pretty good. Again, we've been working at it for 15 years.
So you better get good at it, right?
So,
an overnight
yeah.
success. Yeah.
Obviously, there's always wrinkles every year. Last year, we had to change the course a little bit because of road construction.
Yeah.
Changed it back this year and all those things. But overall, we have a dedicated team, and the emergency management office leads that charge
Yeah.
and do a fantastic job.
It's
with it.
really a year-round job almost, isn't it?
We meet every month all
Yeah.
year. Yeah. Yeah.
But that's why it's so successful. That's why
Correct.
people like it.
Yep.
But when you see the picture, especially on a beautiful fall day, you can understand why people keep coming back and telling their friends. So
Oh, yeah.
I think it's
It was
wonderful.
gorgeous.
So
Gorgeous.
So what else should we talk about? Oh, hey, how'd the drug take-back day go? That was
Good,
that
real
Saturday,
good.
right? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I don't have the number of the weight that we took back, but it always goes well. And big thanks to the Prevention Coalition because they always
Yeah.
send people over to help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's also, speaking of grown, I think people not save up all year. Is that right? Oh, what'd you do? You always
I
have
bounce
something-
stuff
Yeah,
everywhere.
I
You know that.
The camera's moving. You and Joe Sempolinski.
I get too excited.
I know, a bull in a china shop. Yeah, I know. But that is an important event every year, and I know
It is.
Each county does it, right? Or
Most counties do it, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's
And-
great.
And we take, we grab from the local municipalities too when we make our run up to get them incinerated and take what they have also that they've accumulated through
Okay.
the years. So it turns into an event for us.
And this seems like we're just going to focus on all updates. But last time you were on the program, we were talking about the record management system.
Yep.
How's that going?
Fantastic.
Yeah. Tell us that
It's-
for the people that didn't tune in last time.
So Under Sheriff McNellis applied for it was over a $600,000 grant through the state to upgrade. So as of last year, City of Corning had their own records management system. Hornell had their own. Bath had their own. We have our own. All the smaller PDs have their own. None of that data was being shared.
Oh,
So
people are probably shocked to learn that.
I know, really. So what Under Sheriff McNellis did was applied for a grant to be able to bring all of them under one umbrella. And so it goes live November 11th, Veterans Day. And what it will do is every agency in the county, their data will go into one central spot. And we signed an agreement with the Monroe Crime Analysis Center, which is part of the New York State Intelligence Center network, that they can directly mine data from our database. Wow. So if they're looking for someone who drove a black truck with a partial plate of this, it's going to come up and they're going to be able to use that. Wow. It's amazing what they do already.
I'm sure.
But their ability to get all of the information from all of the input that is occurring in Steuben County is huge. And I've had talks with their people from Albany, And I think this may spur an expansion of the network regionally in this area, which is going to help us significantly too, I hope. But, we've got to continue to embrace technology.
Yeah, or get left behind.
That's it.
Was it a difficult process?
It was a difficult process.
When you talk about paperwork and things like that.
Well, not only that, but, every town, village, city has their own unique set of circumstances, their own unique needs that we had to be able to fold into this bigger picture.
Right.
And still giving them the autonomy to meet their individual needs, or it's not going to work.
Right.
So it was a lot of negotiation and give and take, and again, Under Sheriff McNellis and Lieutenant Logs did such a phenomenal job bringing everybody together for a consensus. Because then the other side of that is also the DA's office.
Yeah.
Has to be part of this because they're going to be getting all their cases
Yeah.
through this new program. So there were a lot of moving pieces, but I feel good that we're where we need to be in order to go live in another week and a half.
So just because you wanted it, you had to drag all these people along. They're like, we're happy with it,
Right?
Because
Well, they all needed upgrades.
They
Every
know
one
they
of them
needed
did.
upgrades,
They
but
all did. They were all
we all put
of
off.
their programs were beyond life expectancy and were no longer supported.
Yeah.
So the need was enormous.
Yeah.
But again, getting everybody to work together, not that they didn't want to work together,
Right.
but everybody has
it's overwhelming at times too.
It is, and everybody
change.
has their unique needs, and you've got to be cognizant of that in order to do something of this size
Yeah.
and make it successful. And like I say, I can't say enough good things about the work they did because it wasn't me. It wasn't me.
No.
It was Under Sheriff McNellis and Lieutenant Logs and Lieutenant Kennedy that brought it all together and affected this with the help of all the chiefs. Chief Spalding was phenomenal in her support of it, and Chief Murray and now Chief Lewis. They all saw the value and they all bought in.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, if you're out of date, why not bring it up? That you're going to have to eventually anyway. Let's work as a team and get it out of the way.
And we made sure that we bought this. So they upgraded the CAD system at 911 this year or last year. This is the companion piece to that software.
Okay.
So it's a seamless linear progression from the minute the call taker takes the call, goes right through, and all of that information goes through to the incident, goes through to the arrest. And we're checking right now, but we know that Axon has an agreement already with Tyler, which is the software company. We got to find out how much it's going to cost because nothing's free with Axon. But there exists a patch to be able to take the body cam footage and tag it directly to that incident through the system.
Wow.
So one big package. Here you go, DA, and
especially with the rules we've talked about, really tying
The
your hands.
discovery rules,
Exactly.
yes.
The tying your hands. This
This
makes
is
it
gonna
so
be enormous.
much easier. Mm-hmm. And I know we talked about this with Sheriff Schramm the other day, and I don't want to kind of get on a tangent here because we have to take a break. But when we talk about the discovery laws and all that extra work, isn't it extremely frustrating when you do that and then you see a scenario more so at like kind of the local or the state level where they just get thrown out because of bail reform?
Yes.
So you do all that paperwork,
Yes.
you do all that, and these people have been out for a long time now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's got to,
Yeah.
it's got to be so frustrating for morale. We'll talk about that more. Let me take a break.
Sure.
All right, we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, and in that studio, it is the sheriff. So we got a lot more to talk about. Where should we go? Hey, first of all, last time you talked about it, and now you remember to bring it.
I remember
It's
to
so
wear
bright.
it today.
You've got the
yes.
bright lights on, so I don't know if it's coming through, but the pink badge, tell us about that.
So we did this first time this year. One of the lieutenants in the jail pushed this program, and it's a great program.
Looks good.
It's to support breast cancer awareness and research. And we had, I don't know if you saw, we had the mammography.
We brought that up, I think, last time, and I promoted it a couple times. That's great. How'd that go?
Real well.
Oh, good.
Had a lot of folks at it. And so anybody that wanted to pay a little money out of their pocket could get a pink badge. And then the proceeds all went to the Wilmot Cancer Center this year in support of breast cancer awareness. And we've had a lot of good comments about the pink badges. They're very noticeable.
They are very noticeable.
Very bright.
Yes. Yeah. That's why people, I don't think, can see it because the light's hitting right off of it. But they are. But they look good, and it's for a good cause. And
it is.
I think it's great that your office has always taken up causes like this. Like in the when you talk about Christmas time, and it seems like there's initiatives going on. Really, if you get the newsletter all the time.
Yes. Well, we are, and that's. I talked about that yesterday. Where we try to be as much a part of the community as we can because we are.
Right.
We live in the community. We want to be partners
Not
in the
strangers.
community with everybody that's out there, and it pays off in such a myriad of ways. When we had the bank robbery, the number of tips we got,
I'm sure,
were astronomical. And when we do the Twin Tiers Most Wanted, it's almost always solved by the next day.
Yeah.
And it's because we partner with the community, and the community partners with us.
Right. They want to be a part of it. I think your Christmas initiative and like this, people want to be a part because they know you are a part of the community.
Right.
And that's such an important, because we talked about this with Shram, but it's worth mentioning. At a time when you see someone who called to defund the police, likely the next mayor of New York City.
Yeah.
Maybe not, but best case scenario, it's Cuomo. We're in a bad place if that's here too.
I feel bad for New York City.
Yeah,
I do.
But when you look at that, and what does that for you at the sheriff's office and just in general, the morale in that scenario where this guy could be, and again, and I know it's New York City, but that's a larger trend.
It impacts.
Yeah.
It does. And, this is the first time this year in September we had, I think, close to 50 people that took the deputy's exam. That's the first time that's happened since pre-pandemic. Yeah. So I think locally we're starting to see a reverse of that trend of 5 and 10 people taking the test.
Yeah.
But again, when you look at, I had to laugh. I saw Letitia James on the news saying that she opposed the weaponization of the Justice Department, and I'm thinking, holy crap, that's what you've done for the last umpteen years.
Yeah,
since
that's
you've
how
been
she made her
Attorney General,
campaign.
is weaponize the Attorney General's office against police. And it's interesting when things come home to roost like that. It's satisfying, but also on the other side, it didn't need to be that way.
Exactly.
It's such a colossal waste of time, energy, because all of this talk of reform, all it's done is make it more difficult to get qualified candidates in the door.
Right. Well, and as we mentioned with bail reform, I mean, how frustrating, and we had these comments last week, when you can't even finish the paperwork and they're back out on the streets and you're just going to have to arrest them again. When, I know that this is not the case, but most people would say, when do you stop caring?
Right, when you give up.
Yeah.
And we're pretty lucky. We've got a very dedicated group of young people that don't quit. But it is frustrating when you go to a domestic, especially.
Yes.
And the person fights with you. You charge them with the resisting arrest, the violating the order of protection, and the assault, and they get arraigned and released.
Yeah.
And there's no time to make a plan. There's no time to help the victim.
Yeah.
And there's no consequence to that behavior.
No, there's no
Why
punishment.
would you change your behavior if there's no consequence?
Well, and that's just like raise the age, right?
Yes.
How disastrous has that been? How many lives, I know the New York Post had this recently last week, how many lives have been ruined in the future, these young people, because of the age law?
Well, the things that they don't tell you about is the lack of beds. So our last few that we've had to take to a secure detention facility, we're taking kids from here down to New York City, Long Island, because that's the only place there's a bed. So they're 5-6 hours away from home, which is against anything that anyone will tell you is good for them.
Yeah.
And they're down there until we go down and get them and bring them back, and they go to court and go back.
Yeah.
So how is that helpful to the child? How is that making that child on a path? How does that put them on a path to recovery? It doesn't.
No.
All it does is make it worse, and makes it worse for the family.
Yeah, and then if you look at the gang members, they're starting to recruit these young people because they know that there's no repercussions. I mean, I know I've mentioned it on the program before, but they were talking in New York City like it's like something out of a Charles Dickens novel. They're going around pickpocketing, and because when they're confronted on it, they say, call the cops.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to happen.
They're not going to do anything. They can't do anything.
Yeah, so you've got people that may not have normally been in a gang scenario now being recruited at 12, 13, 14 years old. Some of these videos that you'll find on the Post are so disturbing of these young people that have grown up well past their 12, 13 years.
Well, yeah, and a 17-year-old kid is not a kid.
Well, that's true too. Yeah. Let's face that.
Yeah.
But the raise the age, the bail reform, all these things just keep coming up. And I know after July 4th, they talked a little bit about changing raise the age because there was trouble in Albany.
Yeah.
And I know I ask this every time. Nothing's coming from any of this. Nothing with any teeth.
No, she.
But with a re-election year,
You would hope. I know, I think last week the governor was in Rochester touting the law enforcement technology grants.
Yeah.
But that's not what made the news. I saw the Rochester news. What made the news is, what are you going to do about your electrical energy?
Yeah, everything's that.
Yeah. And totally ignored what she was there to tout, which she wanted to say, hey, I'm pro-public safety.
Yeah.
I sent money their way.
Yeah. That's what she wants to do.
But that's not what the story was.
No, and that's not what the story is. And also, you can throw money here and there, but you've got to look at someone's overall biography
That's
here.
the Albany plan.
Exactly. But she's not a very good politician or a very good governor, but she does every once in a while get that one sneak attack where you go, oh, she's going to get credit for public safety now?
Right.
Because we were going to reform bail reform, and then it was nothing, or discovery law, or whatever the case may be. But she's got to be a little concerned. I know some of the polling that comes out with Stefanik is coming from more right-leaning organizations, but she's she's nipping on the heels.
Yes.
And for a Republican in our scenario, this has not been this close in a long, long time.
No. And, we'll see what this coming year brings.
I know.
It's I've seen the laws that she's already signed. One is doubling down on taking guns at scenes. Police must, if it's a domestic incident and the victim answers yes to a couple of questions, then the police must seize any firearms that are at the house and hold them for at least 120 days. That's already been signed.
I wonder how that's going to be misused.
Well, and,
wow.
Once again, the red flag law has worked well. It has. It's gotten a lot of guns away from some pretty dangerous people. But it became every time someone went to the hospital, you had to go seize their guns. That's not the intent, and that's not what makes us safe.
And wasn't that the fear when these first started coming up? People said it's not going to stop here. It's going to grow, or it's going to become, or be misused, or whatever the case may be.
So it's continuing.
Well, there you go. On that note, we'll take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this. Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. In that studio, we have the sheriff. Got a question from a viewer, just to kind of paraphrase it real quick, is about the record management system. And they were saying, as any concerned taxpayer would say, that seems excessive.
It is. It's a lot of money.
There you go.
When you look at ones that provide countywide systems, there's about 3 or 4 choices because they each gobble up all the smaller ones.
Oh, yeah.
And so that they control the market, basically. But when you're looking at a countywide system, there's much more expensive ones out there.
Yeah, okay.
and there might be one that's less expensive, but not many. Unfortunately, you're paying for the technology and the licenses and the upgrades and the all of the Microsoft licenses that go along with it to make it run, and
anytime you're talking IT
and storage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because there's a significant amount of storage.
Yes, and IT is always going to be more costly because it's getting
and
different.
Anything with law enforcement on it is more costly.
Well, right, and you've got such a niche specific that it's going to cost a little.
It does. Yeah.
Hey, last time we talked, and we're going to give an update on this in a way, but scams. Have there been a lot of scams?
There have been. There's been some new ones, and I don't know if you saw the press release, but we were able to make an arrest in one.
This is a wild story. So they're actually from Brooklyn. How does this all work?
Well, they're actually from China.
Well, from China, and then I'm sorry.
Yeah, illegally in the country, living in Brooklyn.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think they were part of a bigger network. What they did was they took over this gentleman's computer and told him, then contacted him and said, there's child porn now on your computer. You either pay us $28,000 or we're going to turn you into the FBI. Imagine the fear of that person in that moment. Right. And kept control of his computer. Yeah. And they said, you got to give us $28,000 in Bitcoin.
Wow.
And he said, I don't know how to do Bitcoin. And they said, okay, just get cash. We'll come pick it up from you.
That's scary too.
And that's when he called us. And so we were able to set up outside and intercept the folks that were there to receive that delivery. And when we took them into custody, we ran them, and then because we have our partnership with ICE, we were able to run them in their system also. They were wanted. They had both been previously deported for crimes previously.
Okay.
And were back in the country illegally. So ICE was more than happy to come grab them.
Good.
And they did. And as far as I know, they're back in China now.
That is amazing. I can't believe they just show up at the front door and not expect anything to happen. $28,000 isn't chump change.
No. And again, how many other people have they hit?
Well, that's true too.
If they're up here in Steuben County doing it, who else has
That's a great point.
been grabbed along the way? But yeah, there's a lot of them now are people posing to be law enforcement.
Yeah, and we talked about it last time. Sean talked about it, but I think you were saying that because there's a Steuben County, where is it?
Indiana.
Yeah, that there's a
They
little
mix
bit
them up sometimes. Yeah.
But that they really, and I guess they're criminals. What do we expect? But they use people's emotions, especially.
Absolutely.
And they're not even just targeting older people now.
No.
Some of these, like you said, the registered sex offenders list. Those people are getting contacted saying that you didn't check in. Send us a gift card. Don't ever send a gift card to anybody.
No, don't
Give
send
them up
gift
for
cards.
Christmas at
Don't
this
send
point.
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Don't send anything.
Yeah.
Don't send cash. Don't send anything. Call your local law enforcement. Report it.
Yeah, because again, no one's going to ask in the sheriff's office for a gift card.
Right.
Right? You're not calling anybody or texting anybody to ask for
Well,
money.
never.
Yeah.
Never.
Period.
It's not going to happen.
No. But so pretty much the scams are just they're always going to be a thing.
They are. And with
AI technology.
Yeah, they're going to continue to become more refined and more sophisticated.
I can't believe when people will send me some of the audio, the way they use audio, so you can understand how if someone, especially an older person, but it's happening to everybody, they pick up and it's their grandson or granddaughter on the other end. They need this money. Nasty. But I'm glad you caught those too.
Well, and one of the things they're doing now is if you answer the phone, that verifies that it's a good number.
Oh, yeah.
So then you're on the list.
Gotcha.
Right.
And you can't get on a do not call list for
Well,
scammers,
right,
probably.
because they're already committing crimes. They're
Yeah.
not going to pay any attention to that.
Yeah. Wow. All right. So we're covering a little bit of everything. Let's see. Where do I want to go from here? Anything going on local races wise? We got a general election day coming up on the 4th.
We do. Matter of fact, early voting is open now.
Yeah.
Vote early. And what was it? Vote early, vote often.
but just early.
Just vote early.
Yeah. Yes. I'm going to go over maybe today, maybe tomorrow. But I went. Last year was my first year doing the early voting. It's so easy.
I love it.
Because you know how election day is. You might forget. I can't think how many times I got settled in at home and realized, all right, let's get back.
Well, and I've had where if I didn't vote first thing in the morning, I'd get tied up at something at work and not make it back before 9.
Oh, of course.
And missed voting. I've had that happen to me.
Yeah.
So now I don't miss voting.
No, and the thing is, it's very quick. And that was even during the presidential election.
Yeah, no lines.
There's no lines.
No lines,
Which
yeah.
is whatever that says. But yes, everybody, and pretty much standard local races. You know, we've been doing our best job as we can here on the program to get as much of the word out. But that's going to be tough with even year elections coming up and all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and we're already working with the Board of Elections. We do the pickup from both early voting sites every day through early voting, and then we'll do the pickup on the day of, on Election Day. That's always a big enterprise, picking up at all the polling sites across the county at one time.
There's a lot of polling.
Yes, there
sites,
are.
too. We did them down a little bit recently, didn't they?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
still a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
but that's why make it easier on the sheriff and get early voting.
Early voting,
That's
we
our
love
PSA.
early voting. Yeah.
There we go. We were taking another short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back. Broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Sheriff Jim Allard is in that studio with us. Okay, we got a lot to cover still here. Not that much time to get there. We were just talking off the air. I love the app. That's my
Yes.
favorite part of my morning routine. I do Wordle, check out the app, see what's going on at the sheriff's office.
See who's in, who's out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then see if there's any Market Street regulars. But it is actually very helpful.
It is, and it's helpful to see. You can look up a lot of stuff on it, but also if you have a loved one that's staying with us, it gives you the opportunity to put money into their commissary account to set up your visitation and schedule that. So it's very helpful.
This is a good question. Mark writes in, are you prepared for possibly getting people getting unruly and causing havoc if the SNAP benefits are interrupted? Because there's been threats online. I know a lot of people have been on TikTok and Instagram saying, if you take this away, we're just going to go into the stores and steal and these type of things. Yeah. Is that something you probably just always prepare for that anyway?
Well, it's something that we're always concerned with, and you know, a lot of our clientele are folks that abuse SNAP benefits. So we are very cognizant of that group of folks that are receiving that are in need. So I think in this region especially, you're going to see things like Catholic Charities and other folks step up if need be.
I think so too.
Yeah, with food bank stuff. And again, we just gave 800 pounds of food
to
the food bank. I think we'll be ready for it. But it's always a concern because, you know, this shutdown benefits no one.
Exactly.
And the sooner it's over, the better for everyone. My heart goes out to the federal workers that aren't receiving paychecks.
Yeah, military. That's how you know this was originally developed when the first shutdown was just to make it as painful as possible. Because when you're talking about somehow our military being non-essential employees by definition, explain that to me.
Yeah, how does that happen?
Congressmen and women are essential.
Yeah,
something doesn't add up there. But yes, there's so many outlets. I think people realize, but you've got food pantries, a great one at Painted Post. You've got the Salvation Army. There's a lot.
Painted Post has one. Corning has one. Almost every region has one, and you know those folks that are truly in need, my heart goes out to them.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure folks will step up to make sure that we don't have starving children.
Yeah. So great question. Thank you, Mark. Corrections officers, how's everything going? Hiring, you guys up? You down?
We're about the same.
Yeah.
About the same. You know, we hire one or two and then we'll lose one or two. That seems to be consistent. They're going to they're back at the table with the county next month for a new contract. My hopes are that a new contract will help us recruit.
Okay.
And that we can make some gains there.
Yeah. Because that has been a struggle.
Well, and they're working their tails off.
Yeah.
They really are.
I'm sure. Yeah. Now we're not, no segues. Boater train. I'm not even going to.
Well, I thought you were going to segue into the luncheon today.
Oh, that's right. Why wouldn't I? And I was going to bring up boater training. Tell me about the luncheon. I was looking forward to hearing about this. What are you making?
We're doing sausage, peppers, and onions, and on the grill and the griddle, and then we have some salads too, and for all employees again. Yeah. And I have to give the county a plug because they're actually paying for the food and
very nice,
allowing us to do that. But it's another appreciation. And then at noon, we're swearing in a bunch of new folks. Yeah, that we kind of postponed the swearing in ceremony for a little bit, and getting that done and recognizing them. It's always enjoyable.
Yeah, it's the camaraderie. But now here's the question. Because the luncheon's before the swearing in, since they haven't officially been sworn in, are they not allowed to participate in the luncheon?
Before and during and after. It goes from 10 to 2.
Oh, does it? Okay.
So they're covered, yeah.
All right, good. Phew. That wouldn't have been. That'd be kind of cruel, wouldn't it?
Hey, put that down. Put that down.
Not until noon. No. What time is the swearing in? Noon?
Yeah,
okay. By the lunch. And you had mentioned, new at the Sheriff's Office, parolee checks.
Yeah. So we partnered with New York State Parole, and they're renting a little space from us. To be able to bring in and do parolee checks in our office in one of our secure rooms. That helps them out, so they got an easy place for folks to come to. But also, if someone gets violated, we're right there.
Right.
We take them right in the jail.
The safety issue.
Yep.
All right, let's take our last break, and then we're going to wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking. So get your last-minute questions in for the sheriff, and we'll be right back. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, wrapping up today's edition of Frankly Speaking with the sheriff. First of all, morning, Frank, says Sergeant Dave. Sergeant Dave says, I'm trying to put this shutdown in perspective. Back in the 70s, I worked for Westinghouse Electric and had 4 children. We went on strike for 4 months, and I did everything I could to make ends meet and feed my kids. Life is hard sometimes, and you have to do what you have to do. It still can stink, though, at times. But
yes, it can.
Hey, boater safety, even boater training, still going on?
Still going on, yep.
You're doing your due diligence.
We are.
You know what? Everybody's going to be angry. And I should have started with this, but what's new updates with the county?
Oh, the saga continues.
Yeah, okay.
You know.
There you go. So no new updates.
Yeah, we filed our response to the appeal, and The appellate court meets early in the year, so.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
now it is just the waiting game.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm still going to ask every time.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, good. School safety. Tell me about this. We talked about this last time.
Yep.
What's the CLIPS program?
So that's a company, and actually it's founded by a West High graduate.
Beautiful, finally.
Yeah. And he's moved south and started a company. And what they do is they provide the ability for first responders to take over the cameras in the school in an incident and see real time on their MDTs as they're responding what's going on. So it used to be the training was grab people as they come out, get some intel before you go in. Now we'll be able to have direct feed from the cameras in the school districts that have this program and be able to see, should there be that bad day, we'll be much more prepared as we enter.
I'm surprised. Good for him. I'm surprised that hasn't been done before.
Yeah.
That's such a scary thing when anytime you see that on the news, but when you see them trying to get some information, you don't know what's going on. So the people entering are going in blind in a bad scenario like that.
And this alleviates that.
Yeah.
So right now 4 districts in the county have it. I think 2 or 3 more are working on it. So I'm very excited about it.
And everything's going good. We talked about this last time. We should start doing an update on the school resource officers. Everything's going good with them?
Very, very good.
Yeah.
Need a few more.
Oh, do you really?
Always need a few more. Always do,
yeah.
Because we hire retired police officers.
Yeah.
And for those positions. So as the retirements go, then as our employment goes.
Well, I like how rewarding it is because I've heard in the past from SROs that it's rewarding for them, but I also like that it builds that, what we talked about going back to Zoran Mamadani, it builds people actually respecting law enforcement instead of seeing what they see on TV, when they see at the news.
Yes, it builds that positive relationship at a young age. And, all you got to do is go to any of our successful SROs and see them high-fiving kids as they come off the bus.
I know.
Or getting hugs from kids as they come off the bus every day, every morning. That's how their day starts, and it's amazing to see.
It's got to feel pretty good for them.
It does.
And it's great to have
It's so different than what they came from.
Yeah.
Oh,
exactly. Yeah, a lot different. Yeah. So they must love that. And finally, just before we go, because it's almost out of time here, Veterans Day. I know that you've got a speech. Good luck.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, over at the VFW here in Corning. Yeah. There'll be various. I know over at the monument here, Corning does one every year. Bath does one at the American Legion every year. Most places around that have legions do something on Veterans Day. And support your veterans, obviously.
Yeah. And then you've got all your people back at headquarters waiting for record management systems.
Yeah. Oh, they're training like mad right now.
Yeah.
Everybody is. All the end user training's going on.
All the classes and that.
Yep.
I don't envy them.
No.
But it'll be good in the long run.
It will be good, and this new system allows us to do a lot of pretty cool stuff that we couldn't do before.
Oh,
so
great. Well, we are out of time, but how about this? For the last comment of the show, this coming in from a viewer. Frank and Jim, great show today. Keep up the good work.
Well, we love that.
Yeah, that's what we want to hear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for your support and for watching.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
And we got Joe Sempolinski on tomorrow.
Oh, boy.
That's going to be a fun one.
Big Joe.
I know. We're going to see what he has to say. He's always in the area. I saw him on the news last night.
He's doing really well.
He's doing a good job in Assembly. Isn't
he is.
And he's doing these town halls. I can't wait to ask him tomorrow. I saw a press release. He's packing for Assembly. He's packing in people to these town halls.
He's doing a very good job for all of us up in Albany.
Phil, we're really lucky for all the people.
We are.
Yeah,
we are.
Overall. All right. Yep. Oh, go ahead. Did you say it? That's it?
That's it, buddy.
I like to blow the interview right at the end. That's all right. Trying to make it uncomfortable right at the end.
I just want to say I haven't broken any equipment today.
No, we're good.
My hands to myself. It's been good.
It's been perfect. All right, join us tomorrow for Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, thanks for giving us so much time, and we'll see everybody tomorrow morning at 6. I look forward to it already.